You never know what you'll find in the universe of my mind. Hi! Okay, it's time for a flip through. And this is the flip through of the journal that I said I would probably do next because I finished it. I finished it today, in fact. So I started it on Monday, November 24th of 2025, and I completed it today, which is Saturday, February 7th of 2026. And Franklin did some adorable things on almost all of the entries. So there you go. And if you hear some strange things in the background, it's either the neighbors making noise over there or Franklin is in the room. So there you go. Okay, so these birds are from scrapbooking paper, and I tried to cover up the green bits with some blue pencil, but it only sort of worked. It's still kind of greenish, but that's okay. And the background here, those are security envelopes. Anyway, so the last journal I flipped through, I filled it up before I finished the combined Peachtober and Inktober prompts. And so this is one of those prompts. So Peachtober was spots and Inktober was rowdy. So the friendly alien critters are being rowdy here. He's jumping on the drum, making them. And he's got cymbals. And Franklin's adorable gnome is riding the Dalmatian for spots. And they're adorable. He's upset because they're making so much noise. And there's an adorable scene here too. The gnome is walking his dog, and there's a campfire where they're singing and making loud noises. And then there's Rowdy has Spot the Rowdy. Oh, it's fun. This was for JenniBellie's challenge of the month on her journal workshops. Some of the luxuries I enjoy most include, and I wrote down a lot of them, as you can see, but one of the most important ones to me are the Smule app, the karaoke app on my phone, and that's a self-portrait of me singing on Smule. Wow, look at that S-car go. It's an S-car. And they're singing karaoke over here. And this was for my friend Larry's birthday. Franklin made his, I made a card too, but that was Franklin's for her. And yeah, so much adorableness happening. Oh, and by the way, I actually won. It's a random draw, but I won for submitting this to the challenge. So that was pretty cool. Okay, so Peachtober was Stripes and Inktober was Inferno, so I made fire, and then Franklin did a whole scene with some fire. They're putting out the fire, and then some of them keep going back in and jumping on the rescue blanket thing. It's a fun scene. And then he did another one, similar theme. Okay, this one, in order for it to look right, I have to hold it up like that. I'll show you the picture. So Peachtober was bear, so this is Ted the bear. He's one of my characters. And Inktober was puzzling, so Ted the bear is doing a puzzle. And the puzzle image was a stamp. But anyway, he's doing a puzzle. Oh, and the gnomes are sledding, and they're trying to push the banana vehicle up the hill, and then there's some they're hiking, and they're puzzled because they're kind of lost or something, and they hear something, and there's a bear snoozing in there, and it's a fun scene. So Peachtober was axe, and Inktober was onion. So, oops, that's not supposed to do that. There we go. So the onion is being chopped. This banana tastes different because he's got garlic in there. I mean an onion, not a garlic. much more. And those two are adorable too. Peachtober was button, and Inktober was skeletal, so there's a skeleton hand, as you can see, holding a button up. And I also did this button. It's a skull and crossbones, and Franklin's, the skeletal gnome has buttons on his hat. And he's got a button on his hat. And then there are some adorable critters. Fun scene. And then there are skull and crossbone buttons on this figure here. And then there's a whole construction site here. It's a lunch break on a construction site, and they're talking about apples and bananas here. And there's a dude here too. Oh, they're so adorable. Okay, and then there's also, I did this because I was thinking, I went with this, but I also had this kind of idea where the skeletal hand was pressing a button instead of holding one, and then this button, but a cutout type button, shaped button. Peachtober was sour, so sour grapes, and Inktober was lesson, so it's the fox and the grapes story about sour grapes. There are many who pretend to despise and belittle that which is beyond their reach, is the kind of the moral of the story. And then Franklin's got a teacher teaching some lessons about lemons and bananas. That doesn't taste good, apparently. Or maybe it does, I'm not sure. Anyway, because sour and a lesson. Anyway, and then there's some fox, a dancing aardvark, sour patch, something candy. Okay, Peachtober was Whisker and Inktober was Vacant. So I made a vacant dollhouse, and the kitten's name is Whisker because he's got one big black whisker. And he's curious about the house. And Franklin's got a cat, and another cat, and another cat, and a mouse, and a scene here, the comic strip here. It's adorable. Peachtober was Ghost, so there's a ghost, fancy sheet ghost, and Inktober was Award, so there's an award for Miss Booty. Miss Booty 2025. And Franklin's got a bunch of cats and an adorable critters here. Squirrel. That's adorable. Oh my gosh, they're so adorable. This was a show up. I saw this in a floor tile, and this Franklin saw this in the bleed through from the other side, and then he drew this version of the critter. So he's a friendly alien critter. Saw the critter, this main critter, saw him in a floor tile as well, so he's a show up also, and yeah, just made a scene out of it. And Franklin's got some more cats. One of them's dancing, one of them's singing, one of them's just sitting there being adorable. They're all adorable. And then there's a scene here where there's a poor old gnome stuck in a block of ice, and there's a critter here who doesn't know what's going on, and so adorable. I saw both of these critters in the same floor tile, same area of a floor tile. Sometimes that happens. I see different versions of a critter, and when Franklin saw them, he said that they're probably stocking testers to see if the stocking will hold up to putting all the stuff in them. And then there's an adorable cat with some stockings on his feet. And I think that's either Santa or a gnome peeking, starting down the chimney. We're in December now, so in a floor tile as well. And Franklin's gnome version of this thing. And his ornaments are bananas. So, woke up with this image in my head, and wow, there's a nice elaborate scene going on here. And there's a kitty cat on a gift. Oh, we received a Christmas card, and Franklin wanted to do something inspired by that Christmas card. saw this critter in the backyard trees, and Franklin did his version of a critter too, with some gnomes all singing, and a kitty cat wondering what's going on, and another kitty cat. So this is a weird thing that I saw when I closed my eyes when I was listening to a playback on a recording I did on my karaoke app, Smule, one day. And yeah, like sometimes I just have the strangest things pop in my head, and I just have to put it down somewhere. And my art journal is usually where. And so this, I'll show you the photos, but basically, I mean, there's a printout of the photos here, but I'll also put it in the screen when I'm editing. But basically, this one is pushing, is rolling, because before, like when the page was freshly made, this was rolled and it wasn't flattened, and this gnome was pushing and these two gnomes are pulling. I don't know why they're doing that. I don't know why they thought that page needed to be rolled up, but they did. So there's an adorable gnome on a critter, and there's a singing rabbit. And then there's a bunny that he goes doopy 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 doo in our yard. And this is a disco gnome, and these gnomes are fishing for bananas. Oh my goodness. Franklin's adorable creations. This one, he's bouncing from one trampoline to the next and going through the hoop that this one is holding. And then there's another scene over here. He's huffing and puffing because he's pulling the bag full of goodies. And then he doesn't know that there's another gnome on top of the bag he's pulling, with another bag full of goodies. And I just love the way Franklin's mind works, and the adorable critters that have been showing up in my journal. When he comes to visit me in my studio room, it's just so much fun. And there's the gnome that was through the wreath. Woke up with this image in mind, and again, I I don't have any explanation for things, for those kinds of things. They just, the strangest things show up in my head. You just never know what you'll find in the universe of my mind. Adorable cat. Another cat, and they're riding inside bubbles. There's a frog, a gnome, another gnome, a cat, and they're adorable. And they're just in the bubbles. I think he was inspired by my bubble-ish things. Profiles are a very big challenge for me, but I'm trying to do it more often because I want to learn to do a better job on them. Okay, saw this in a floor tile. This friendly alien critter. My shavings from my colored pencils look neat, and I sometimes I can't bring myself to put it in the garbage can where it belongs. So I do things like that sometimes. It looks like a flower. And then Franklin's got a Franklin's got a scene here where it's kind of like something you would see in the Pink Panther, the original cartoons, where this guy's painting and this guy doesn't know what happened to his roller, and it went down the back of this gnome and made a mess, made a stripe on his back because this critter has a stripe. I'm sure that's why he was inspired to do that. Anyway, it's adorable. Probably gonna say that a lot in this video. Okay, so I woke up with this idea in mind, folding up a piece of paper to make the skirt, and it was going to be very different. It was going to be more interactive. There's going to be this was going to be able to lift, and underneath she's wearing leggings, black leggings, but I messed up and it doesn't work that way, so I just left it like that. But yeah, and Franklin's got an adorable gnome address. Gnome address. He's writing a letter at his desk. Oh my goodness. And oh, the mouse smelled some cheese. And he's whistling and looking up at the clouds, and this is a cloud critter. Boy with yo-yo watching clouds, it says. This critter was in a floor tile also. This is where most of the critters show up. This was on the scrap paper that I drew the original capture. Franklin, okay, so here Franklin did a 3-color challenge where he asked me for 3 random colors. So I gave him pale rose, cerulean blue, and henna from my Prismacolor pencils, and then he drew this, and then he decided that he needed some green to make the scene better. And then when he saw this, which I'm going to show you in a minute, he was inspired to do this, and I absolutely love this idea, and I want to do something inspired by this in the near future. And then he gave me a gumption award because I I got up that day and shoveled and helped the neighbors with their shoveling, and I think I did a few other things to earn that too. But over here, and this is a picture of Franklin and I on the turn of the new year. And so I just did a new year thing. And then there's a bunch of scenes here with some adorable critters. Vroom. And what's wrong? I'm bored. Ha, that's what you predicted. Yep, I nailed it. Okay, this was for JenniBellie's journal workshops monthly challenge, and it was to journal about your word for the year. And I don't always do that, but anyway, I have a video short about this, but anyway, I decided this year my word is process or processing, and so yeah, process of decluttering, changing, learning, forgiving, processing emotions and feelings, etc. Processing thoughts and creative ideas, etc., etc., etc. And Franklin's adorable reindeer, and it's raining and there's a deer, and we don't know if that gnome knows that the deer wants to be under the umbrella or not. I accidentally missed this page when I was flipping through. Whoopsie. And these are Franklin's adorable creations that were on that page. Okay, this abstract was inspired by a piece of confetti, apparently. And then there are friendly alien critters in there. I wasn't happy with it when I first did it, and so I changed it around and cut stuff up and tore things and whatever, and then I just did that. It's just an abstract. Oh, okay, these are inspired by the LG logo, the TV thing. The LG logo inspired Franklin to make a gnome who's holding up a face mask. And this adorable dog who's wagging his tail showed up just a few minutes ago while I was editing this video. Franklin came to visit me here in my studio room and drew this. Okay, this piece of scrapbooking paper on the back had an ugly pattern, and I tried to make it a little bit better by covering the green up with some blue gel pens. And I usually don't really like gold either, but sometimes it's okay, and in this case it's okay. Anyway, and then I just drew a face in this area there, just to fill the empty space a little bit. And then I discovered in my stash, I discovered some tools and things that I didn't even know I had. And one of them is Fiskars set of stencil-like things that make weird looking letters. And Franklin made this for me using it. And then I discovered that I have a circle cutter tool thing that's really cool. And so I had some fun with that tool. And then this is inspired by this. And I don't remember, something on here moves, I think. Oh yeah. Yeah, I can. Franklin did some art inspired by a bunch of things too. Actually, this was inspired by the feeling I was trying to describe to him about being creatively overwhelmed and everything. I was trying to describe the swirly, feel like I'm gonna explode with all the creative ideas that I can't keep up with and stuff. Anyway, he made pretty art out of it. Oh, I guess I never came back to this. I guess I lied. This journal isn't complete yet, but I'm gonna say that's okay, and I'm gonna say that that's good enough. I started, as you can see, to do something abstract, and I changed my mind, and then I was going to use one of these circles that I used with that circle cutter I was just talking about, and then I just didn't know what to do with it, and so I thought I'd come back to it, and I never did. I still might, I suppose, but whatever. This critter was in a floor tile, and Franklin did a couple of critters, and I love his coloring. And then this gnome is he's in a costume pretending to be one of them critters, and it's adorable. I wonder how many times I will say adorable in this video. Woke up with these eggs in mind. I have I guess it's a toy lizard. I took inspiration. These don't look like it, of course, but took inspiration and I did that. Franklin did an adorable lizard-like critter and some eggs, and a gnome bringing some another egg to put on this pile. And I love this idea, this scene where the bunny is, the gnome is hanging from the bunny's ear, and this gnome he's got a ladder on the tree or the bush, and he's gonna help that dude. It's adorable. And this one was actually in a wall tile, not a floor tile, but yeah, this bunny-like critter was a show up. So some chipboard stickers had these things and inspired. This part looked like eyeballs, to me, so I made this critter's eyes inspired by that, and then Franklin did this adorable critter, and this gnome is admiring him, and he wanted to, he was going to be taller than he actually is. He needed a stool to be able to talk to him face to face, and this inspired this for Franklin, and it was adorable. I love this. There are a couple of gnomes driving a car, being adorable, and this friendly alien critter is on a skateboard. This gnome is shoveling, and yeah, we've had a lot of snow this winter. This adorable critter with sitting with his feet in the air. This scene inspired the next 2 pages as well, but I woke up with this scene in my mind, and I know that it doesn't really make any sense, but who am I to argue with my mind on things like that? And I still, to this day, do not know what he is pointing at. And so yeah, I saw this critter in the snow swirl thing, and this inspired this for Franklin, and this gnome is skiing down the critter's back, and there's a scene here where there's an adorable bird singing, and the adorable gnome is making a snow gnome angel. There's an adorable critter. The snow is deep. It's up to, he's sinking in the snow because it's so deep. And then there's another critter here with a gnome blowing bubbles, being super adorable as well. And then this critter is also, I also saw him in the swirly from the previous page. And then this gnome is having a nap and being super adorable. There's some cats, and there's some critters. And there's a squirrel, and I think he's an aardvark. And there's some butterflies. And then there's another, his interpretation of a critter like this guy, wearing sunglasses and relaxing with his feet in the water. You guessed it, adorable. So this was when I was trying to fall asleep, and I was listening to a sleep story. This kind of thing, I couldn't get it quite right in the journal, but there was a strange, almost a pointillism abstract thing in my head, and I tried, but I don't know, just weird things. Okay, and then so these flowers are inspired by, where is it? They're inspired by this one. So yeah, it's magnetic, and put it there and there, and then he can fly around without making slits all over your page. And it only kind of works. It would work better if there weren't protective sheets on the back side. But anyway. Adorable. Adorable. He's got a toolbox and I think it's a hammer. And there's a critter, adorable cat, and this adorable critter in the beautiful window is looking at this. Now, I tried a few times to do the thing, the magical thing in the hands, but unsuccessfully. And then I came up with this. And I thought that worked better. And if you're paying attention and you watch to the end of my videos recently, you'll probably have noticed that this has become my new outro and credits thing on my videos. Woke up with the clouds and the girl in mind. The critter came after because she needed somebody to interact with. And then Franklin has a gnome riding a banana cloud. And then once there was an island. Woke up with this image in mind too. This is a silhouette of a famous person, but I can't remember who. And this is a silhouette of Dwayne Johnson. I was going to use that one, but it was too big and didn't quite work, so I used this one instead. And Franklin did this adorable frog-like critter. Yeah, woke up with this in mind too. Don't know what it's about. I did this on January 24th, which was my mom's birthday. Or at least I started it that day. Completed it the next day. My little critter from the smudge from the previous page. And Franklin has an adorable cardinal there too. He wonders if we have some seeds for him. And then I drew the pots and the gnomes, and then I just kind of lost steam on this one. I didn't really want to finish it because I knew there was going to be a lot of green, and because I didn't really know what colors to choose for some of the things, and I don't know, it was more ambitious than I had the energy for, because to do the idea right, I would have had to like look up real plants and plant pots for reference and stuff and whatever. But then I was explaining all that to Franklin, and he came back with this as an idea that he did with an AI, and I thought it was a good idea, and I took inspiration mostly from this there to make the path and stuff. Yeah, I liked this idea, but it's so far from what I usually do that I just didn't end up doing it this way. But I liked it, and so I put it in my journal. And then this adorable gnome is having a nap, and then this one, this one, he saw these homes, and he put his up for sale immediately, and then this dog is investigating, and he's so adorable, and then this gnome, he got one of these houses in community further down that way. His door is pink. That was a good idea. I should have made one of my doors pink. Anyway, so adorable. He just came out like as soon as he saw this. He no hesitation. He just wanted one of these. This came from an envelope. The inside of I think it's an Amazon envelope. Anyway, it looked kind of like a cotton plant thing. And so I stuck it there because it was neat. And this is true. Time is just flying by. I need to figure out a better way to make my sliders because they only sort of work. They work, but they... Anyway, yeah. Gotta keep practicing on that. One of those lists, saw this when I closed my eyes while listening to a playback on a Smule song. Says, I don't think I captured what I was trying for, but there you go. It's close enough. Woke up with this in mind. Don't know what it's about. This is inspiration for a painting that it's from a dream. I had a dream where I was painting a mural. I didn't get it quite right here. This initial capture is closer, but yeah, it was a strange dream. But anyway, I was painting this mural and I thought it was pretty neat. I should do an actual painting of this someday soon. And then there's this this gnome is enjoying his fettuccine Alfredo. And this one is pointing and he's saying, there. Floor tile friendly alien critter, adorable critter that Franklin drew, and then the Turtle Gnomes band, and they're playing. He's playing a cowbell, and he's playing a gnome version of a Stratocaster, and there's a banana. See?
Oh, a banana caster.
Banana caster, yeah. And then on Groundhog's Day, Franklin did this adorable duo of an adorable groundhog and a gnome, and he's saying boo, and he's saying ah. Woke up with this in mind. Again, don't know what it's about. There you go. And then I was trying to do this. This is a lot closer to what I was trying to do, but it's still not exactly right, but I would have been happy if it looked like that here, but it didn't. And so then I kept trying to do more layers or more experimentations and stuff to try and make it look better, and I just couldn't make it look better. But then I saw this bird in that piece of paper towel, and so I didn't want to cover him up, so I put him there. And then this bingo dauber thing, kind of looks like a flower in a way. Anyway, and then I was explaining all this to Franklin, and he suggested that I make this. And when he was trying to explain his vision, he made these pieces, and I thought these looked really cool, and so I put them there. And then he drew an adorable flower. I think it's rose. He wasn't sure what kind of flower it was. Anyway, and then there's a gnome inside it, and it's adorable. And then there's a gnome here painting an abstract, and it's adorable too. But I think that these flowers did help a lot, but I'm still not happy with the overall look. I like some bits and parts of it, but whatever. I decided that's good enough as is. I'll just leave it. And then there's a whole thing about Groundhog's Day. So on Groundhog's Day, I had intended to do an art journal entry. I had also intended to sing a song on Smule, inspired by the movie Groundhog's Day, but I didn't manage to do any of that on Groundhog's Day itself. But then these comic strips from the Mutts showed up, and I guess I thought, well, I guess I'm not the only one who missed it, because Earl, we missed the groundhog. Arrgh. How will we know if it's going to stay winter? And they're in deep snow. And then, well, you were out long enough. Did you see your shadow? And he said, I knew I forgot something. So there you go. And then it ended up, oh, and this gnome here is saying, arrgh, and stuff. And then, yeah, so then I did this. I don't remember what day anyway, a day or two after Groundhog's Day, and as a friendly alien critter, we watched an episode of Stargate, which was like the Groundhog's Day movie, and I thought it's all kind of works. And then I sang the song, I Got You Babe, but I did it a cover version, and it's a acoustic version, and it's very different from the song that plays over and over by Sonny and Cher in the movie. But anyway, it all worked out okay, because it's a Groundhog's Day kind of thing, because it keeps repeating and stuff. And anyway, it worked out, is my point. And then on the back cover, inspired by what Franklin said should be on the cover. Why did I move it? Oh, I'm silly. Okay, yeah, and I messed up when I tried to protect it with some packing tape. So I'll show you the photo I took before I put the packing tape on. There you go. That's this journal. So Franklin had made this really cool thing for the cover of this journal, but I didn't know he was doing it, and so it was too late by the time he got finished cutting it out and gave it to me. So instead of this journal, I put it on the next journal cover, the one that I just started. He also made this scrapbooking paper gnome that I did this to, and stuck it in the inside cover of my new journal.